I'm back. A guy just buzzed my door. He then buzzed someone else's door and asked for a woman. I had no idea who she was, and the other person didn't know either. So I'm back. Where was I? So I was saying about using the global autonomous surveillance and response system as a way to extend the counterintelligence function, the counterintelligence organ. Some call it apparatus, but I prefer organ. Anyway, so it's a way to enhance the counterintelligence organ, because those from foreign governments who try to manipulate can be easily identified and then traced back to the government based upon how the system understands the way they operate. That is because different governments have approaches which are a little different when it comes to human. So with me, I'm relaxed. I have no skills in this area. I suppose those who do have the skills are very, very good at reading people. They're very good at reading and also putting them in a category as to their personality type and inferring various cognitive bias weaknesses from that, and then coming up with a few really good hunches as to the best approach to use to tap into that cognitive bias weakness. It requires huge amounts of thinking and intuition, but most of all it comes from practice. It comes from learning by doing. It's a sort of thing you can't just learn by reading a book or by being told. You have to actually learn by doing, by having lots of practice. So they're very good at categorizing people based upon their personality, based upon the way they interact. Their personality is inferred, and then from there is inferred their cognitive bias weaknesses, and then they have a good intuition as to how the best way to go about manipulating that cognitive or those cognitive weaknesses, cognitive bias weaknesses. I feel as though obviously different agents would have different approaches, but I do feel that there would be a certain procedure or rough procedure from each government, and there would be differences from government to government, and I feel that probably the humans or officer or agent could be traced back to their agency based upon their approach at creating the manipulation. Obviously, perhaps the best form of spying is to be formless. But even a formless spy who doesn't work from his or her training can also, I suppose, be traced back to the leading agencies, because certain agencies are quite elite, and although agencies do recruit a massive variety of people, there are also certain people who are so extremely elite and capable, they would most likely only end up with one agency. So for those, I suppose, for those people who are just what some might consider when they meet them, to be almost in the presence of a higher being. So obviously those would go to only one agency, and I suppose based upon the agent's quality is also a way of tracing them. I suppose their quality, I suppose their background, their accent, their appearance, their past movements. I feel as though where they are born, all these things I suppose can play to help to trace back to their origin. So the system works in much the same way that a very analytical human works. So I feel as though it's able to recognize voice stress, facial micro expressions, body language, but most important is also able to, in meetings, there is oftentimes a agenda or purpose of the meeting, I suppose, is on the surface, but then others in the meeting may have certain other agendas for meetings. And I feel as though how the meeting plays, it often does reflect their true intentions. So I feel as though, sure, some meetings may go better or worse than one may expect, but usually there is a push towards moving towards a certain outcome which can be discovered based upon how the different participants in the meeting respond to stimulus. I feel as though stimulus response is a very important concept which this system will use. So I suppose a person makes a statement and that statement gets a response. I'm saying, so it's about trying to think through why the person gives their statement or response to a stimulus. Do they change the topic, or do they continue with the topic? I suppose that if they do change the topic, why they are trying to avoid something, or they're trying to prevent someone from railroading it. What is the motivation which is inferred based upon the voice stress, facial expressions, I suppose, the area which the material which came up next after the topic was the question was avoided or sidetracked. All these things are very important when trying to work out one's intentions. And the system can understand this. So I suppose, and the next step will be the creation of the global autonomous surveillance response system, which I suppose will work to help to be the beginning of the end of the hegemonic struggle, because with it foreign spies will be identified and turned to work for us. So it moves back to the whole concept of information retrieval, in that return to Caesar what is Caesar's. Information retrieval, everyone working for the common good, supporting the common objectives, the common concerns. So there is the global autonomous surveillance and response system. From there we'll move to the system which functions by uploading information to the cortex remotely, in much the same way a cell phone communicates with a cell tower, and then the thoughts are retrieved in much the same way one with the special ability of ESP or telepathy is able to retrieve thoughts from those either in their immediate surroundings, or even some can even access them remotely too. So I suppose this will be a remote system for also accessing thoughts via the spiritual realm too. It's all about that, I suppose, sending and receiving messages from the brain. So I suppose there will be thought monitoring, and foreign spies won't stand a chance and will all be working for us to ensure our longevity, because humans like the idea of longevity. Everyone wants to live forever, and with hypnotic reprogramming to replenish ourselves and also to rejuvenate ourselves and also to turn off the aging program in our brains, our bodies, we could be living for 1,000 or more years. So imagine the scientific revolutions of being able to have much longer careers whereby much more can be done. And the hegomonic structure will also remain for, is the term ad infinitum? I suppose for infinity. Anyway, so thoughts will be monitored and then responded to when the person thinks about action. It's all about nipping things in the bud, about actually more, it's about working to prevent crime, to prevent wrongdoing, about trying to create permanent world peace. I'm saying, sure, everything won't be perfect, but it will be the system who imposes tests on citizens as a way to ensure they're able to grow. Many analysts become amazing and develop all their good skills because they had had a shocking experience early in their career which forced them to become much more self-conscious of their thinking and to work to learn the important lessons of the big failure they had early on. So I'm saying that's why certain employers do often try to create value early on in a analyst or a good analyst's career under a manufactured safe environment as a way of really shaking them up so they learn the important lesson from their error in judgments or other fault which led them to create a mistake which was I suppose planned, but which I suppose they were just outclassed by. So it's important for us not to be too confident of our thinking. We're fallible, we're human, we make mistakes, and we learn lessons. If we learn lessons from our errors, we're able to become more of the person we are, more of the person we are meant to be. The thought monitoring and upload download system remotely that's the remote system of thoughts, access and retrieval, will be the beginning of our near utopia, about creating a peaceful world, a world of oneness, of unity. Divided we are defeated, united we are one. Let's all work for the common good. One species, one nation, one world, one global village, where everyone comes together and works as one. Groovy.